Today, we're going to walk through the real-world story of a company that took its biggest infrastructure nightmare and turned it into a massive competitive advantage. We're talking about going from being stuck with frustrating, old-school hardware to becoming a leader in AI innovation. So, let's get right into it.
So, let me just ask you this straight up. Is your current on-prem setup holding you back? Are you tired of those super expensive hardware refresh cycles? Or those performance bottlenecks that, always seem to hit at the absolute worst times? These are way more than just tech headaches, right? They're real business problems that are probably costing you money.
And it really comes down to this choice. On one hand, you've got the classic on-prem pains. You're trapped buying expensive gear that just sits there doing nothing most of the year. You're struggling to keep up during peak season, and forget about innovating, you're too busy just keeping the lights on. But on the other hand, there's the cloud. You pay for what you use, you can scale globally in minutes, and you can finally turn your tech into an engine for real innovation.
To make this whole thing less abstract, let's meet the hero of our story today, a company called Symbol Shops. They're a growing online retailer, and their on-prem data center was quickly becoming the single biggest thing holding their business back.
For Symbol Shops, the breaking point was, of course, the big holiday season. Their servers just completely buckled under the traffic. We're talking slow pages, checkout errors, which means lost sales and really unhappy customers. They were stuck over-provisioning, buying tons of expensive hardware for that one peak, only to have it sit idle the rest of the year. If any of this is sounding a little too familiar, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more explainers just like this.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to follow Symbol Shop's exact journey through the proven 4-phase Google Cloud migration framework: assess, plan, deploy, and then, my favorite part, where all the magic happens, innovate. Okay, let's kick things off with Phase 1, assess. The whole goal here is super simple but absolutely critical. You have to stop guessing about your workloads and start using hard, data-driven facts. So how'd they do it? Well, they used the Google Cloud Migration Center to basically x-ray their entire environment. This tool automatically discovered every single server, what was on it, and, this is the most important part, how everything was connected. No more guesswork, just pure data. And what they found? Well, it was a real shocker. They found out their 50 web virtual machines were only running at about 45% CPU utilization on average. Think about that. That's more than half their capacity and money just going right down the drain. And it didn't stop there. Their back-end app servers, each loaded up with 32 gigs of memory, were only averaging 25% usage. This data was exactly what they needed to build a rock-solid business case that said, hey, we have to change. But you don't just jump in, right? They ran a small pilot program on Google Cloud to prove the theory. And the results? They were incredible. Page loads were 50% faster, and, get this, cart abandonment dropped by 20%. That was it. That was the green light they needed to go all in.
All right, now for Phase 2, plan. And honestly, this might be the most important part of the entire journey. This is all about laying a solid foundation for your future in the cloud before you move a single thing.
I love this analogy because it's just so spot on. You would never, ever build a house on a shaky foundation, right? The exact same thing is true for your cloud environment. Getting this part right from the start saves you so many headaches down the road.
So their foundation was built on 5 key pillars. They set up a smart resource hierarchy to keep things organized, really tight identity and access management to control who can do what, a secure network design, a single pane of glass for security, and full observability so they could see everything that was happening.
Now here's the real game changer. They didn't do this by clicking around in a web console. No, they built their entire foundation using Terraform. It's called infrastructure as code. It means their whole cloud setup is defined in simple code files. This makes it totally repeatable, auditable, and version controlled, which is just a massive leap forward.
Okay, the blueprints are approved, the foundation is poured. It is officially moving day. Time for Phase 3, deploy.
For their virtual machines, they use this super slick process designed to cause almost no disruption. A little connector on-prem starts copying data to the cloud in the background while the old servers just keep running. This let them launch risk-free test clones in the cloud to make sure everything worked perfectly. Then, when they were ready, the final cutover took just moments.
But that was the easy part. What about the absolute heart of their business? That massive 2 terabyte live customer database. How in the world do you move something that critical without bringing the whole business to a halt?
Get this, using the database migration service, the entire switchover from their old on-prem database to the brand new Cloud SQL database took less than 5 minutes. It was practically invisible to their customers. Just a huge, huge win.
And that brings us to the final and most exciting phase, optimize and innovate. Now, this is so important. For Simple Shops, the migration itself wasn't the finish line, not even close. It was the starting line for a total transformation. This is where they really started to cash in on the promise of the cloud.
This phase just became this awesome, continuous cycle of improvement. First, they got smart about their costs with FinOps. They took the money they saved and plowed it right back into innovation. They shifted workloads to serverless on Cloud Run, and then they did something that would have been impossible before. They built a generative AI shopping assistant on top of high-performance TPUs.
I mean, just look at this comparison. In their old world, a project like that would have been a multi-year slog with a huge team of specialists. On Google Cloud, they used the low-code Vertex AI agent builder to get it done at a fraction of the time and cost. That's the kind of speed we're talking about.
And what was the secret sauce that made the AI so good? They grounded it in their real business data. They connected it directly to their live inventory database in Cloud SQL. This fed Google's powerful Gemini model with real-time info, so it could give shoppers incredibly helpful answers that were always up to date.
So when you boil it all down, what do they actually get? Well, it comes down to 3 huge things. Operational agility, they can handle any sales event without even breaking a sweat. Strategic cost optimization, they only pay for what they use and reinvest the savings. And the big one, the freedom to actually innovate and build things that were just a pipe dream before.
In the end, Simple Shops took the one thing that was holding them back the most, their old, clunky infrastructure, and turned it into their greatest asset. It really makes you think, doesn't it? So I'll leave you with this question. If you had this kind of power at your fingertips, what's the first thing you'd build? Let me know your ideas in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching.